Very well. You will die fighting for your cause. I shall defend my homeland!
And welcome back to another episode of F.O.R.D.E. Welcome back, everyone. How you doing? Episode 6, my goodness, we're rolling through these. And this week, we'll be tackling everyone's favorite 3DS game, Conquest. Just kidding, we're not doing Conquest, we're doing Birthright. Tricked you, we're not doing that one, we're doing the bad one instead. Oh, man. I had some really, nice opinions about Birthright until I replayed it recently, because spoilers, I'm recording my own footage for all of this, which is why it might look a little janky from time to time. But for Birthright, this chapter, Xander, spoilers, you've read the title at this point, it's chapter 26. It's very, very close to the end of the game, literally 2 chapters away. So for me, this was effectively a full playthrough. And I'm like, you know what? I haven't played through Birthright in a while. Fuck it, let's just make it an outing. We'll make it a fun little work outing for everyone involved, which is me and no one else. And during my time with Birthright, I quickly went from a nice, gleeful, childish smile to a grimace to a frown to a despair, hopeless, dorselessness face. It was a rough time. I remember really enjoying Birthright, but this time was not so fruitful. Anyway, more importantly, did you manage to solve the anagram? Of course you fucking did. It was 6 letters. Dex Ran? For fuck's sake, it's Xander. That one's not even hard. I could solve that in my sleep, which I probably would. Anyway, let us get to the chapter at hand, which is this really interesting to talk about chapter. It's a very unfortunate chapter, I'll just say that right away. This is not a good chapter, I'm going to throw that out right away. I'm just going to set the battlefield, bam, play my field spell. This chapter is not good. But it's not good for a bunch of interesting ways, which is why this chapter is actually quite interesting to talk about. Thank you for the recommendation, one of my favorite recommendations so far. Let's just dive right into the categories. Flavor! We're gonna be here a while, because this is probably the most interesting category when it comes to this chapter. Oh, fuck, man, where do I even begin? Okay, if you weren't aware at this point, this is almost certainly going to be a failure in terms of flavor. Like I said, we're going to be spending an outlandish amount of time here to just really, delve into why this chapter is so frustrating in regards to its flavor. Because it's not like the chapter doesn't have some kind of flavor. It's not like I'm just playing a vanilla, boring chapter. Like Unbroken Heart is a vanilla, boring chapter. That chapter succeeds on flavor, but its flavor is so basic that it may as well not succeed. Whereas here, the chapter sets out to do a lot of things, it's just that it doesn't really succeed at many of them, if at any of them, which makes it a really tragic chapter, and not in the ways that they're intending. The premise of the chapter is really straightforward. You are basically at the end of the game at this point. There's only 2 chapters left. I believe it's literally just the 2 Garen chapters after this. You've beaten Hans, you've beaten Iago. All the other siblings are dead or defeated at this point. All you really need to do is have your climactic duel against the quote-unquote main lord of whatever route you're currently not doing, aka Ryoma or Xander. Incredibly simple on paper. Really, really straightforward. Even if duels, I think we've all, as a unity, as a combined unity in the Fire Emblem community, have pretty much come to the agreement that duels don't work in Fire Emblem, and every single time they've tried to do it, it's kind of been just a mess. Fundamentally, it's not really something you can do in your turn-based, grid-based strategy game. It just kind of doesn't work. We'll get more into that later. For now, the goal from the devs should be to make the chapter feel both tragic and intense, as well as having a sense of finality for the characters that you're going to be killing off. So if you're playing Conquest in chapter 25, which I'll be using as a comparison point a lot, because no fucking shit I'm going to use it, the 2 are meant to be compared, they really do succeed at making that chapter feel like a genuine struggle. I won't go too far into it, but they give you a set of really tough obstacles to wade through if you want to open the doors to the main room where Corrin and Ryoma are glaring at each other, because, spoilers, I'm not starting a fight against that dude. It gives you a bunch of stuff that makes that chapter feel really, really, ooh, it's intense. I'm really struggling against a stronger enemy. I'm not the biggest fan of Ryoma as a chapter. I think it can be a little bit grating sometimes, but it definitely works flavor-wise. Spoilers for when we eventually review that chapter. It will succeed on flavor. Here, though, it don't work. It's trying its best to set the stage by doing effectively the same thing that Ryoma does by splitting Corrin off from your main army and having, the really emotional track of Thorn in You playing in the background, going, oh, isn't this a tragic situation? How could we possibly have avoided this incredibly easy situation? Like, it's really trying to set up that emotional turmoil, but it fails where Ryoma succeeds for a bunch of different reasons, which I will now go over with moderate enthusiasm. A slim amount of enthusiasm. It's fucking hot on this recording day. It's like fucking 30 degrees, I'm gonna die. Please, I'm in an oven. For starters, it's difficult not to bring up the elephant in the room, that being the story preceding this chapter with Elise having her ingenious idea to find out what it's like to be hot butter. It's really dumb. Even for Fate's standards, it's really fucking dumb. Fate's writing obviously is no masterclass of, like, high literature, but, like, Birthright's writing, for the most part, is, like, fine. It's very, like, adequate. It's nothing exceptional, but it like, gets the job done. Whereas stuff like Conquest and Rev are really fucking stupid. But, like, here, though, like, when I was playing through again, and watching Elise have a little moment where it's like, aha, I know what I'll do to solve this situation, and she does a winky face like, I'm a genius, ooh. I assumed she'd try and just convince, like, Laszlo and Perry to do something significant to stop Xander from doing anything reckless, because, like, if you look at schemes in other chapters, it's like, oh, I'll convince Charlotte and Benny to do something, or, like, I'll convince them to stop fighting. Like, she's kind of a diplomat. It's kind of why I like Elise, because she's, like, actually, like, using her brain. But, she really just thinks, I know, I'll kill myself. That'll save the day. Just fucking masterful writing. That's some excellent fucking storytelling. I know, suicide, that'll solve it. Nothing will stop this horrific conflict, like fucking throwing myself onto the spear. Yeet! You know your story is, like, great when I think Conquest, the game with arguably the worst story in the entire franchise, actually has a better version of this. Fucking fantastic. Another major factor for this chapter's flavor disaster piece, as it were, is Xander himself. To this day, it's really unclear what Xander actually wants after Elise dies, as it's left super ambiguous and I'm not sure it's for the best. Ambiguity can work really effectively when it's actually implemented correctly and, like, you want the audience to be kind of unsure on what's supposed to be happening. But here, I can't tell if Xander genuinely just wants to die, or if he wants to teach Corrin a lesson through his death, or he honestly wants Corrin dead. Like, I genuinely don't know. His motivations feel really muddled, and it's really not clear. Like, I'd lean towards him having just given up entirely, since, you know, he just watched his sister become kebab meat in front of his very eyes. And it would make his, like, ludicrously low stats make sense, since he has no fighting spirit anymore, he has no desire to keep going. Like, his stats would represent that. Which, from, like, a flavor to gameplay perspective, ludonarrative perspective, would be really cool. But the lack of concrete motive really hurts this idea overall, since I'm not actually sure that's what the developers intended. I'm personally fine with him being really easy to deal with, by the way. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, Xander's such a pushover, but, like, if your idea for the chapter is to make it so Xander's, like, accidentally just killed his sister, as stupid as that is in the story, yeah, you would feel like, fuck it, I don't want to go on anymore. At this point, just fucking kill me. Like, if you want to do that and just make him really easy to beat, and make it, like, a really, not a bittersweet chapter, but, like, a really, like, oh, this doesn't feel good to complete chapter, go for it. But you need to have something else on the map as well to actually make it an engaging chapter. We'll get into more of that later. Yeah, I feel like I've been gabbing for ages at this point, so I'll just summarize. The chapter's flavor, it simply doesn't work. Like, I can appreciate what it was trying to do. Like, it's trying to make the player feel bad for the choices they made and the route they chose, that you should have picked Conquest or that you should have picked Revelation part. But the bafflingly stupid story decisions just make it so difficult to get immersed in this chapter. Like, for fuck's sake, I'm giggling over the death of this technical adult, so you've probably done something wrong with your chapter if that's the case. Like, it's just a bit goofy. I like Xander and Lisa's characters, but this chapter really doesn't do them any justices. I can't. Like, I'd love to say this chapter succeeds on flavor, because on paper, it's a really cool idea, but it just, it doesn't work. Simple as that. It just doesn't work. Moving on to objective. Oh man, all these categories are gonna be really rough. For objective, obviously the chapter has to be defeat boss if it wants to mesh nicely with its flavor, so I have no complaint there. You have to kill Xander to finish the chapter. That's a-okay. But, man, would it have fucking killed the devs to, like, introduce a single side objective for the player to work through? That was my main overwhelming feeling when I played this chapter. Was not the tragedy of Xander falling, it was not the overwhelming forces coming from the, like, both sides, or, like, the wonderful track playing in the background. It was the fact that I felt there was nothing else going on outside of the duel in the center of the map. Because while the chapter does present you with tons of enemies and potential threats scattered across the map, trying to create, it tries to create the illusion of an intricately designed map, but there's no point to any of it. because you're going to complete the chapter in one turn. As I previously mentioned, Xander is incredibly weak, even for Birthright standards. Like, his stats are ludicrously low, meaning that it's actually very likely that you'll be able to finish him off in one turn. Which, spoilers, from looking at the footage, I did. Potentially even with just your Corrin. Now, in the footage you're seeing, again, I made my Corrin as weak as possible to make it a little more interesting, but it didn't actually make a difference in the turn count at all. All it did was make it so I had to put my ludicrously blessed Orochi in there instead, so she could kill Xander. Because that's the thing. There's only one general blocking the entrance. Like, it's a single general. Like, that's it. Let's go back onto Ryoma, shall we? In Ryoma, in order to open up the center room, you have to make it through 2 insanely difficult corridors of enemies. Like, arguably 2 of the roughest areas in Fire Emblem. Like, the areas of inevitable end ninjas and, like, mechanists and their shitty little puppets. They're fucking horrific. I hate doing that chapter because of those 2 corridors. As well as defeat 2, like, really strong side bosses with Kagero and Saizo. Like, it's good stuff. It's genuinely super engaging and challenging. For objective, I'd probably give Ryoma a success. But back to Xander, you have to defeat 1 unnamed general who doesn't even fucking have Wary Fighter. So you double him with a hammer or an armor slayer or a mage, and they're done. And then you can just move up, open the door, and go and poke Xander to death. It's very, very jarring watching, like, Perry and Laszlo, like, just stare from the other side of the map in horror as their leader is mercilessly cut down by someone who probably believes in astrology. Like, again, Perry and Laszlo are on the map, as I previously mentioned. It really feels like they should have a bigger part in this map. Like, they should motivate Xander into fighting or something. But they're just there, and there's no reason to fight them. They're super far away, they have no droppable items. They're not, and, like, they're not the way to open the door, like in Ryoma. They functionally serve no purpose on the map outside of flavor, which is the same for every other non-general enemy on the map. There are no chests, there are no items, there are no gimmicks, there are no side objectives. There's nothing going on. This could work with the flavor if you wanted to just bask in the horror of at least doing a triple, like, kickflip onto Xander's butcher knife, but in terms of being an actual, like, fun and stimulating chapter, it doesn't work because there's nothing here. It's just a big empty room, effectively. It's a big empty room with a lot of statues. Like, there is no reason to interact with them. There is no candy to collect, there is no good feelings. XP doesn't matter at this point because you're basically at the end of the game. It's just pointless. Objective is complete failure. Replayability? What replayability? This chapter is going to last 1 turn. Replayable chapters are maps that have tons of variations or interesting side objectives. The only variation in this map is, oh, I wonder if Corrin's going to be able to solo Xander, or will I have to open the door so someone else can get in the robot instead? Like, that's it. That's the only variation. When it has no variation and no side objectives, there's nothing to look forward to on a subsequent playthrough. And Birthright kind of suffers from this in general, because if you asked me what some replayable chapters are, a lot of Birthright chapters are just so nothingy. They really don't have a lot of variations. It's just a bunch of static enemies on a map. Like, I'd say the Camilla chapter, maybe, just because that chapter is kind of interesting. Even if I don't enjoy it in the slightest, because I think the gimmick is really unfun. The Rainbow Sage map, maybe. It's like, the Rainbow Sage map is like a guilty pleasure map for me. The map isn't very good, but, like, I kind of enjoy it because it's a weird map. Even if, like, the Birthright one's probably the weakest version of that map. I'm sure there's, like, other chapters with better replayability in Birthright, but Birthright in general does suffer from this. Anyway, like, this chapter is about as replayable as, like, ironically, the Chapter 1 tutorial fight against Xander, which could be viewed as a nice cinematic parallel, I guess. Having the Chapter 1 tutorial reflect the Chapter 27 fight. That could be viewed as a nice cinematic parallel, but we're playing video games, so I'd like to be able to, you know, enjoy something I can play. I want to play something. I want to press buttons and feel good. I want to watch the XP number go up and actually feel good about it and have a purpose. There is no replayability. We are 0 for 3 so far, people. Moving on to our 4th category, difficulty, and I feel like a broken record at this point, because all I'm really doing is repeating the idea that this chapter doesn't have anything to offer outside of its attempted flavor. To say that this chapter is incredibly easy is, like, almost incorrect. To be more accurate would be to say that the chapter doesn't have difficulty, because it's over in 1 turn, and probably over in a set of, like, 5 actions. As I mentioned, there's only 2 enemies on the entire map that actually matter, so once you're through with them, the chapter is done. Now, you might view as like, oh, maybe this general's really tough. No, he's not. He's a general in Birthright, meaning he has no skills, because Birthright's really afraid of skills. Birthright is purposefully made as easy as possible. Even on Lunatic, the shit's easy. But if you want to jump further onto that, oh, well, Birthright is supposed to be easy argument, I'm just going to counteract that with, Birthright does actually have a reasonably difficult endgame. Again, I've said this on multiple occasions. Birthright's late game is actually weirdly tough. I should establish this. In this playthrough, I do this in general with Birthright. I don't use Ryoma because I think Ryoma just trivializes the game. I think the other royals are completely, like, fair and balanced, even if, like, Konoka and Takumi are very, very strong units. But, like, Ryoma, I think Ryoma actively makes the game less fun to play just because of how fucking busted he is. Like, Birthright absolutely has some difficult chapters. Like, chapter 24 and 25 before this, I'd argue were some of the most difficult chapters in the route, due to the insane amounts of reinforcements. And honestly, like, pretty strong enemies for Birthright standards. Like, the Dark Knights and Bow Knights and Great Knights are generally somewhat difficult to deal with. Like, it's not super difficult, but I'd say it's a step above, like, what you'd expect from Birthright, like Sacred Stones and Path of Radiance difficulty. Like, I'd say it's reaching, like, FE7 difficulty, maybe. So as I said, the fact that this chapter is in Birthright should have absolutely no effect on its difficulty, because Birthright can have difficult chapters. 25, with its ludicrous amounts of reinforcements and super difficult beginning, and 24 with its Wyvern Knight reinforcements are genuinely tough chapters. Should its flavor make it an easier chapter overall? Maybe, but it shouldn't go so far that it makes the map an absolute joke. Flavor should, like, flow nicely. It should mesh with the gameplay. It shouldn't just overtake it entirely. In my opinion, at the end of the day, gameplay should trump flavor. So if you have to pick one, I'd pick, like, gameplay. Because I can skip the story, I can't skip the gameplay. Warp staffs don't count. Yeah, there's nothing really else to say here. It's probably the shortest map in the entire game, which says a lot, given that Fates has a bunch of tutorial chapters that will probably end up being longer than Xander. Like, straight up the, like, Premonition chapter before chapter 1, prologue. The one where you have just Korin and the, like, the green unit Takumi. I'm willing to bet there's more actions in that chapter on average than this one, which is ludicrous. Like, come on. Now, for our final category, enjoyability. As always, enjoyability is going to have an element of personal bias to it, as at the end of the day, the amount of fun you're going to have whilst playing a chapter is going to be subjective. You know, it fucking different strokes for different folks and all that jazz. That being said, I think I'm just gonna bring down the hammer on this one and ask the question. To those of you at home that do enjoy this chapter, because I'm sure there's at least one person watching this saying, like, oh, I like Xander, that's my favorite chapter. Oh, it sucks to hear that you don't like it. But, like, my question to you, to the viewer at home that does enjoy this chapter, what is it that you enjoy about this chapter? You personally. Does the flavor work for you? If so, like, be eloquent and, like, describe it in the comments, because I'd love to hear about it. There are a lot of maps in Fire Emblem that I personally don't like, but can fully understand why someone would enjoy, and vice versa. Like, I read a lovely, like, I can't think of the word, I don't want to say essay, because that makes it sound like, ooh, he's fucking typing out an essay. But, like, there was a comment on the Retreat video where someone's like, I really don't like Retreat, and here's, like, a bunch of reasonable reasons why. And I read it through, and I was like, this is great! I really, like, I read all these, and I agree with some of them. Like, he's convinced me afterwards. So, like, I would love to hear, like, a 500-word essay on why someone thinks Xander is a great chapter. I'd love to read it. I'd love to be convinced. Because for this, I genuinely can't understand why someone would love this chapter. Because there's nothing here. Like, it's not a case of, like, well, I don't enjoy this chapter because I think it's sluggish or I don't like this mechanic. But, like, with Xander, there's nothing here. Again, I think a bad chapter should be something explosive. Like, I can complain about something like the Great Bridge in Radiant Dawn, or the Great Bridge in Path of Radiance. They made us play it twice! Like, that chapter is a bad chapter twice, but it's at least explosively big in terms of why it's bad. And I could definitely understand someone enjoying that as, like, a guilty pleasure chapter. But here, like, I'm sorry. And it gets a fail for enjoyability, because it's like a 5-minute chapter, man. There's nothing to enjoy. It's not a slog. It's not agony to play. It's over really quickly at the very least. Like, how am I supposed to enjoy, like, the meal when what I've been handed is an empty plate? I've been told I'm going to have, like, a really nice, like, gourmet meal. Nice cutlery, like, a nice ambiance in the restaurant, and what I've been handed is not, like, my fucking filet mignon or my caviar or my wagyu beef or my woo-woo beef. It's just an empty paper plate with a smiley face and ketchup. That's kind of it. That's kind of it. And I guess that's just gonna wrap it up for this episode. Wow, what a wet fart of an ending. Again, thank you to the commenter who recommended this chapter. I've probably forgotten your name because my memory is hot garbage, but it'll be up on the screen right now, if I haven't already thanked you. But yeah, thank you for that. Since I saw the request, I was super curious myself, and I'm really, really glad I played through Birthright again, as I can decisively say that this might be the worst map in Birthright, like, honestly, because, like, while there are a lot of, like, bad maps in Birthright, for sure, there's a lot of maps where I was like, fuck, man, I don't want to play the stupid lava, like, Stoneborn chapter. That chapter sucks. 21 is so bad. That might be worse. Okay, there might be worse maps in Birthright, but, like, there's a lot of, like, uhs and ews in Birthright. Like, there's the Stoneborn chapter or, the Camilla chapter, because I personally don't like it. But, like, this map, Xander, chapter 26, fundamentally doesn't work. It sets out to do something, and it doesn't succeed. This is the first chapter that has failed at every single category. Xander fundamentally doesn't work. It's an empty, like, doodle on the side of the script, with the only, like, legible little piece of writing being, we'll finish this later. Like, this very much feels like we ran out of... It's not even like we ran out of time, it's just like, yeah, that's good enough. We might finish that later. We might... This is version 0.8. We'll go back and polish this up later. It's fine. That's it. That's the ending. I'm gonna put as much effort in as insisted for this chapter. Farewell for now, Birthright. It's been fun. Kind of. Whatever. For our anagram, to stay on topic with Xander, one of his retainers will be appearing in said anagram. So, to figure out what next week's chapter is, decipher the true meaning behind, get ready, Etch Perry. For those in the back, Etch Perry. Alright, that's gonna be it for me for this week. I will catch you guys next week for good old episode 7. We are rolling through these. I can't believe we've done 6 of these already. That's crazy, man. Thanks, guys. I'll catch you next time. Have a great one, everyone.